wait till later. You're just permissive. When we are a little permissive, he can cause a havoc in our home, right? I want to tell you a little story to get started. My husband and I had the wonderful opportunity to build our house about 2 years ago. It's been a dream of mine ever since I was a little girl. We got to build our house, and when we first built our house, the tour of homes was actually coming up. So we weren't allowed to do our landscaping for a couple of months. It's actually like for 5 months after. So we had a mud pit basically for our front yard and a backyard. We live on almost half an acre about, and it was dirt. Now, have you guys ever heard of red clay? That stuff does not come out, red clay. So here's Campbell. It was on a particularly rainy week in April. He was having the time of his life in the backyard, and one of my sons, to this day, will not confess up to it, left the back sliding door open. And Campbell, to his sheer joy and amazement, came bounding, sprinting in, drenched, wet, filthy, muddy, to the house. And of course, when this happens, what does mom do? What does mom do when something like this happens? What does your mom do? Look at me hint. She screams. Who said she screams? Yes, she screams. You freak out a little bit, right? I scream. So what does the dog think when you start screaming?
Run.
It's a game! Run away! So after a momentary lapse of freaking out, took a deep breath, we got him a treat, we lured him into the garage, put him in his crate, and then I assessed the situation. There were muddy paw prints all over our brand new clean house. All over. So as I got out stuff to actually clean, please don't tell my husband, to this day he still doesn't know this happened. I'm a good cleaner. As I got out to clean and I'm scrubbing the floors and even some of like the walls where he shook. This is actually when he's had a haircut, he gets a lot fluffier. I actually remembered a quote that I'd heard a couple years back from a CES fireside, and the quote was actually by Gandhi. Gandhi was a pretty cool guy. It was a quote by Gandhi, and he says, "I will never let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet." I will never let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. And I thought, Now follow me on this one. Are you ready? I truly believe technology is like Campbell here. It is wonderful. It is good. It is a joy. The stuff that we can do to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ, to be missionaries, to reach out to family members, to sing songs, to have scriptures. Technology is amazing. It is blessing. It is fantastic. It is good. But when left unchecked, and if you are permissive, it will make a mess of your life and your home. Follow me on that one? Henry B. Eyring said, because the Lord is kind. I love that. Because he is kind. He calls servants to warn people of danger. The call to warn is made harder and more important by the fact that the warnings of most worth are about dangers that people don't yet think are real. Now, you don't have to answer, but how many times have you heard or you seen your friends, or maybe adults, and you want to watch something, you want to play video games, you want to get on something, look on Pinterest or even on Instagram, whatever, and your parents or maybe your friend's parents or whoever says, no, you don't, we're not going to spend that much time on technology, we're not going to do this, and you're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Guess what? We remember this quote, we're going to come back to it in a little bit. Remember this? The warnings of most worth are about dangers that people don't yet think are real. Now, you guys probably don't remember this. I was actually even young too, hard to imagine, but I was young. When many years ago, one of our prophets and almost all of the conferences were giving counsel to get your homes in order. Do you guys remember this? Get your finances in order, get your homes in order, get your finances in order, get your homes in order. Oh, by the way, get your finances in order. You know what finances is? Money. What do you take care of? How you provide for your family. They kept saying it over and over again. And people were like, yeah. Some did it, some didn't. Guess what happened? Huge economic crash. People were losing their jobs, people were losing their homes, people were losing their cars. The people that had heeded the prophet's warnings were okay. Now at the time, there was no problem. There was absolutely no danger for them. But there were people who were obedient and faithful and did it. So I did an experiment a couple weeks ago. You ready? I did an experiment. I went back on my wonderful technology, which is good. I went back and I looked at a conference talk and I just picked a random one. I picked October 2000 and I just picked that because it's a round number. I also thought, that's not very long ago. Yeah, it's like almost 20 years ago. Is that bizarre? You guys weren't even born then. Whatever. Okay. You guys were all just babies. So I went and I picked a conference talks from 2000 and I just began to read. My sister can tell you that I Marco Polo'd her, again, technology, I'm keeping track with my sister. I Marco Polo'd her and I was like, oh my gosh. You want to hear what they said 19 years ago? And I didn't even have time to write them all down, you guys, because I didn't want to stand up here for 20 minutes and just read to you conference talks. Wonderful information, amazing, heated prophetic words, but kind of boring. So I didn't want to do that. Can I just read you a couple? Are you ready? First one was called The Tugs and Pulls of the World. You ever been tugged and pulled by your technology? You want to get on your phone, want to watch something on TV, want to play video games? Yeah, on your tablet? Okay. The tugs and pulls of the world. Many individuals preoccupied by the cares of the world are not necessarily in sin, but they certainly are in diversion and thus waste the days of their probation. Are you wasting the day of your probation in front of a TV, in front of a tablet, in front of a phone? Interesting. 19 years ago, this is what they said. They didn't even have iPhones back then. Are you ready? God declared that his first of his 10 commandments, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Yet men tends to let his loyalty drift towards idols. For example, we marvel at computers and the internet that enable transmission of data at remarkable speed. We are truly grateful for these electronic servants, but if we let them take over our time, they will pervert your potential, poison your minds, and cease being servants and become instead your false gods. Mic drop, right? I'm sorry, this is so good. Here's another one, Jeffrey R. Holland. Who knows who Jeffrey R. Holland is? Oh my gosh, so good. What were in my generation, he said, carefree moments of movie-going, TV watching, and magazine reading have now, with additional availability of VCRs, internet, DVR, personal computers, tablets, have become amusements made with genuine moral danger. Did you know that the original Latin meaning of the word amusement is a diversion of the mind intended to deceive? Can I say that again? It's really amusing to play games, isn't it? It's really amusing to watch movies. It's really amusing to be on your phone. That's fine. An amusement is a diversion of the mind intended to deceive. Interesting. Unfortunately, that is largely what amusements in our day have again become in the hands of the arch deceiver. Another one. Part of my warning voice tonight is that this will all get worse. It seems that the door to permissiveness, there's that word again, the door to lewd and vulgarity, obscenity, swings only one way. It opens farther and farther and never seems to swing back. You guys listen to this. Individuals can choose to close it, but it is certain, historically speaking, that the public will not close it. No, in the moral realm, the only real control you have is your self-control. Okay, it goes on. Satan is a great deceiver, liar, enemy to all that is good, including our happiness and our well-being. His great desire is to make us miserable, like unto himself. Being the author of deceit, he in effect could invite us to join him to fill our bags with excitement, fun, popularity, time wasting, and so-called good life. But his promises are as an illusion and non-existent. What he really offers are lies, misery, spiritual degradation, and the loss of self-worth. Now, they've actually done a study, we'll get to in a little bit, about Instagram and people on the internet that it seems exciting, it seems fun, you feel like you're getting a good use of their time, where it's actually completely a deceiving moment in your life. You're not. And they find, are you ready for this? The more time that you spend on video games or on social media networks or scrolling through Pinterest or scrolling through Amazon or scrolling through the internet, you actually feel worse about yourself. 20 years ago, he said what he really offers are lies, misery, loss of self-worth. He also says spiritual degradation. That means you're losing your spiritual touch. Do you think you can find promptings of the Spirit if you're in front of a video game, or if you're in front of your phone, or if you're in front of Netflix watching 4 hours of cartoons? Again, not gospel according to Kristi, but I'm going to say no. Because I'll be honest, in my entire life, of my wonderful wisdom of 35 years, I've never had a spiritual deep prompting in my life when I've been binging on Parks and Rec, watching Netflix. Hasn't happened. Hasn't. Right? That's what our prophets had said. Now, you guys might not think that's amazing, but when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh. They were trying to warn us, yes.
Yeah, I can testify to that too, because 20 years ago, we didn't have cell phones. Not everybody had a cell phone, number
No.
one. And if they were, all it did was dial and call.
It was a phone.
It was
Dumb
just a phone.
phones, yeah.
And we didn't even have internet in our house. Number one, the internet was dial-up. It was so slow. You would basically use it for research if you wanted to or something. And then it was hard to even still find what you needed. It wasn't developed like it was today. So that is, and 20 years ago, it might seem a long time for you, but for us, it's a blink of an eye. And that's very prophetic because we just didn't have it the way it is today.
And it seems like everything, and that was just a couple. I was just randomly going through them, and they all seem to stick out. So that's what the prophets are saying. And guess what? Do I think it's any coincidence that President Nelson, your prophet, our prophet, has asked us to do, like, take some time away from our phones and from electronics? I don't think so. Do I think he's studied all of this? I don't think so. I think he's listening to the Lord whisper and saying, hey, this is only getting worse. Our youth are so important to us. I need every single one of them to be at their best game, at their A game. And if they're in front of a TV, or if they're in front of their phone, or if they're comparing themselves on Pinterest or social media or Instagram or Facebook or playing, what's that word?
Fortnite.
Fortnite, thank you. Then you are not going to be at your best potential. This is what our apostles and prophets said. Are you ready to hear what the professionals say? Because I'm not. Are you ready? Okay, just remember, number one, you are a child of God. Number two, I love you. I do. I don't know you, but I love you. Are you ready? This is what the professionals say. The average U.S. citizen looks at their device 46 times a day. 18 to 24-year-olds look at it 74 times a day. I teach YSAs. YSAs are young single adults, 18 to 29-ish. I asked them, I said, do you think that's more than 74 times a day for your age group? And they're like, oh yeah, it's probably like 184. That's probably, right? That's crazy. A third of adults admit to checking their phone in the middle of the night. 12% admit to using their phone while taking a shower. The average American looks at their screen 10 hours and 39 minutes on a day to consume media. I looked and looked and looked and looked, studied and studied and studied and studied. This number does not change. Every single study that I read said 9 to 11 hours a day per adult. A day. Because we check stuff.
Crazy.
We look at stuff. We send text messages, right? Yes, sir.
Sometimes my phone just randomly turns on.
It's a good
Where's the
okay. You're not stuck there.
I didn't do it.
See, that's the average. About 94% of adults have an HD television, which makes sense. Most of us now have two televisions. You don't have to raise your hand, but how many of you have more than one TV in your house? How many have more than three? It happens. The average adult in the U.S. spends about 4.5 hours a day watching TV shows or more. That's on demand, Hulu, and Netflix. So maybe you're not an adult, maybe you don't do that, but we're gonna see why this affects us. Okay, these are complications. So these aren't all of the things that happen, these are just some of the complications. Are you ready? Your vision. Staring at a screen for extended periods of time can cause computer vision syndrome. They had to come up with the term, a medical term, because this was happening so often that they actually made a medical term for what is happening to our eyes when you stare at a screen too much. And I love that I'm giving this to you guys now because most of you guys don't have phones. I love this because this is what we call primary care. We're gonna get you guys prepared so that you don't become one of these statistics, alright? We good? So you get dry eyes, you get headaches, we've all been there like, oh, my vision feels blurry. They actually have a name for this now, sleep. Studies link heavy computer and mobile phone use to more sleep disturbances. Get this. Obviously, if you're on your phone all the time, you're gonna get less sleep. Why? Because at night, what are you doing in bed? You're not. That's fantastic. Or maybe at night, you're staying up late playing video games or on your tablet, right? So you're getting less sleep. Did you know that not only are you getting less sleep, but you're getting worse sleep? You're not actually getting in your REM cycle because of the blue light, what it does to your brain. So even though you're getting less hours of sleep, you're getting less deep sleep and more interrupted sleep because of the effect of what this technology is doing to your brain right before bed. And I know you're like, what if I'm reading my scriptures? I'm guilty of this. I read my scriptures before bed. It's better to read it in your scriptures than on a phone. Reading a book is actually better. Having a screen by your face is actually worse. Yes, sir.
Okay, what if I listen to scriptures while chasing along with the scriptures? Well, like, not
That's
on my
great.
phone,
That's fantastic.
but okay, so like
Absolutely.
the sound doesn't do anything.
The spoken word, it's beautiful.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
That's wonderful. Okay, you ready? This is where we get, this is where it gets a little bit heavy. Yes.
What if I use night mode?
Use what?
Night mode.
That's a good question. I have night mode on my phone all the time too, so I don't know. But here's why this is how I like to live my life. Are you ready? You do you. Better be safe than sorry. Because sometimes we can get the habit of just having it up. Even if it's on night mode and you have it up and you're reading, like, sometimes we get distracted, like, maybe we'll like this, and maybe we'll this, oh, my friend just texted me. And pretty soon, my hour of scripture reading has turned into 2 minutes and I've spent 40 minutes doing something else. Blah. Okay, you ready? You ready? I need all of your attention right now. You ready? This is the one I want you to pay attention to. Okay? Addiction and reward seeking. Dopamine, the feel-good hormone, is part of the brain's pleasure and reward circuits. Playing video games and viewing social media turns on the brain region links to cravings for drugs, sex, and gambling. Every time you see a new post or get a reaction to yours, it's like a hit of brain drugs. When you are on social media or you are playing video games and you get a kill, you get a point, you get a whatever, your brain, neurologically, are you ready? Neurologically, the dopamine in your brain is the exact same response as if you were watching pornography, doing hard drugs, or you were gambling. And it's a wonder why adults who started using phones years ago and we didn't have this information can't get off their phones. Because neurologically in your brain, that chemical in it is that exact same response. Hey friends, wonderful brethren and sisters, not worth it. I don't know a lot of things. I really don't. I don't know a lot of things. There's so much I don't know. But I do know the voice of the Lord. And the voice of the Lord isn't going to be in here. Listen to this. Weight. Every 2 hours of TV a day can increase the risk of weight gain, diabetes, heart disease in adults. There are probably several factors. Obviously, less sleep. You like to munch when you eat. I know I do. But overall health, listen to this. Most of the time when we're on our screens, we're sitting down. Sitting for hours at a time boosts the risk of obesity, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, some types of cancers. Here's the clincher. Are you ready? I know this is so uplifting, isn't it? Gosh, she's depressing. It gets better, I promise. Look at this. And exercise won't reduce the risk. So if you spend 2.5 hours a day laying down on your phone looking at stuff, or if you spend 2 or 3 hours a day playing video games, and you're like, yeah, but I went for an hour walk. That is wonderful. Please keep walking. It's not going to reduce your risk for these things because the damage is already done. Right? Maybe do both. Maybe listen to your scriptures while you're running. True story, I've done it before and it's kind of great. I don't know what it is. I think running humbles you real quick. You become tired and exhausted, you feel humbled, and then you hear the word of God and then you cry and people drive by and they're like, why does she cry running? It's great. Okay. Take it together. So this is actually a study that was taken by a woman. Taken together, studies prove screen addiction is associated with structural and functional changes in the brain regions involving emotional processing, executive attention, decision-making, cognitive control. These are big words. We're going to put it in layman's terms for you to understand too. For kids, 12, younger. Ready? Emotional processing. You guys, the more time you spend on a screen, the more time you have gray matter atrophy, meaning the actual gray matter in your brain that is for emotional processing, holding your attention in school, making decisions, your relationships, how you communicate. It's not just getting weaker. Atrophy means that it's getting weaker. They're actually showing that it's shrinking. You're losing gray matter in your brain. So when we see little kids that can't pay attention, or they're throwing fits, or they're whining because they need a tablet, or they don't know how to communicate what they want, sometimes that's just because they're a toddler. Or sometimes that's just because they're a teenager, right? If your kids, they do these things. Lots of times, are you ready? Lots of times, it is because it is affecting your brain where you don't know how. She did a study, and that's why you won't find a pediatrician on the planet that says, oh yeah, 4 hours a day, that's fine. They say what? 2 hours or less. Now, we did something in our home. When I was doing all this, I'm so grateful. About a year ago, we did something in our home. Do you remember we did a Jeopardy game, Ronan? We made a Jeopardy game before school, and we had different point systems. My sister and I were like, yay, we're gonna make these Jeopardy games for family home evening, and we're gonna set rules and regulations for our home. And one of them was like technology no-nos or something. And it was like for 300 points. And it basically, in our family, I said, we are not going to do any technology at all, zip, zero, none, until 6:30 or 7 o'clock the night after. Their bedtime is 8. That means for the rest of the day, no TV, no iPad, no phones, no laptops, zip. And can I tell you guys something? That change, that first week, was the most horrific, terrible week of our lives. It's hard. It's really hard. I can tell you that the feeling in our home is completely different now. There's less arguing, there's less fighting, there's less tension. It still happens, but there's a whole lot less because we are able to make decisions. We are able to make attention. We are able to have cognitive control. Do you know what cognitive control? It's your ability to control your thoughts, your brain's actual ability not to have negative thoughts. Gosh, I'm worthless, I don't feel good, I'm just dumb, I'm not as cool. Guess what? It's definitely not the Lord teaching those things, but you have less control over that if you spend your time in front of a screen. Now, our kindergarten teacher in Salem, her name is Kathy Bridges. She's amazing. She's wonderful. She's been a kindergarten teacher for 34 years. She's also a devout Christian woman. She doesn't of our faith, but she's fantastic. She's been a kindergarten teacher for all 3 of my boys. She told me, and she said, guess what, Kristi? I used to be able to tell within the first week of school which kids had a summer birthday because they had a harder time paying attention, making decisions, having control, and processing their emotions. That was a lot for little 5-year-olds. I could tell who had a summer birthday because someone who had a summer birthday was what? They were the youngest in their class. They were still getting used to it. She's like, I can't tell anymore. I can tell you in the first week which kids have spent their lives in front of a screen. And whether that's January, February, or that's July or August, she's like, what does it matter? If their parents have been like, oh, we're on a car ride, here's a screen. Oh, we're in a restaurant, here's a screen. Oh, we're at home and it's rainy, here's a screen. And these kids cannot physically, emotionally, neurologically, they cannot do these things. Sad, right? Planning, prioritizing, organizing, impulse control, getting stuff done. They have a hard time getting things done because they get so distracted or they expect to have rewards for it. How many of you have been like, your parents have been like, hey, make your bed or clean your room or take out the trash, and you're like, well, what do I get for it? No. Come on. How much money do I get? No? Okay. Some of you are being honest, all the rest of you are liars. Right? That's not always happening. I used to do that too. I'm like, I want some money, Mom. I want some money to go to Taco Bell or something. And so I want to.
I do.
Did you know? Appropriate reward pathways. Because we spend a lot of time on social media, or you spend a lot of time on your phone or your tablet, or playing games where you get stars, points, whatever. Then you go out to real life and you're like, well, I did this, so what do I get for it? Hey, guess what? It's not reality. Sometimes you're going to have to work really hard and do things that you don't like and that are uncomfortable, that are really uncomfortable, and you're not going to get a lot for it except for the pride of getting it done. And guess what? Sometimes those are the absolute best things. Okay. Excessive screen time impairs brain structure and function. Your frontal lobe development in turn largely determines the success in every area of life. Are you ready? The success in every area of life, from sense of well-being to your academic, that's school, how you learn, how much you can learn, career success, and relationship skills. They did a study, and when they said relationship skills, they meant every relationship in your life, not just with your mom and dad or your brothers and sisters or your cousins or your friends at school, but when you get older and you have a job, with your relationship with your boss. When you get older and you have a relationship with your future wife or your future husband, with your kids, every single one of those relationships can be damaged or harmed by excessive screen time, whatever screen it is, laptop, iPad, TV, video game, phone. Now, can that be reversed? I don't know. I think maybe probably it can, absolutely. I believe in the atonement. I think the atonement can change anything, even stuff that science says you can't. I say, psh. But from what I know, from what I understand, I would say just don't mess with it, right? Why jump into a lion's den if you don't have to, right? Don't mess with it. Do we think this is a little crazy? It's a little intense? Okay, it's like a Boy Scout fight, it's intense. Come on, that's a funny joke! Okay.
Intense.
It's a Boy Scout fight, it was intense.
Took me a minute.
Intense.
Oh my.
Got it.
There it
Took me a
is.
minute. It took me a minute.
It's never too late. It's never too late. We'll use that one later. Okay.
You can use that one later.
I didn't get it.
I didn't get it.
You can use that one
30
later.
minutes later. Ah, got it. You guys ever see this in your homes? Screens on, TVs on, this? Okay. No. So this is.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Remind me, this is a test. Now I want you guys to think about this because this is actually a study that they did on kids and it reflects the parents. Again, I gave this to Relief Society sisters, but I want you guys to listen to this because there's going to come a point in time in your life, I'm going to say this, that you will have an iPhone or you have a phone, whether that's when you're 21 or 28. Technology and the way it's going, it's Campbell the dog, it's progressing, it's good, it's wonderful, we need to have it for a lot of things. So maybe, hopefully, it's not when you're like 15. I'm not going to tell your parents what to do, but maybe it's like when you get back from your mission or something, I don't know. But
Almost all of them do have.
Yeah, all of them.
Almost all of them do.
have iPhones?
Oh, yeah.
Hey mom.
Yeah, yeah.
I go to school.
I don't have
I can
iPhones.
say what I'm saying. I love my mom.
Tell you what,
I love my mom.
you do you. I'm not here to tell you what you're supposed to do. I'm just gonna let you let the spirit lead. All right, psychologist Catherine Steinwright there stated, when parents focus on their digital world first, this is for parents, but listen close, okay, because I'm coming at you. Ahead of their children, there can be deep emotional consequences for the child. We are behaving in ways that certainly tell children they don't matter. They're not intelligent or they're not interesting to us. They're not compelling as anybody, anything, or anything that may interrupt their time with them. Have you ever been talking to someone and they say, oh, just a second. Hold on.
No.
Yeah. Hey, how do you feel?
Makes you feel like they don't want to talk to you.
Listen to this. After interviewing over 1,000 kids ages 4 to 18, that's you guys, the language that came up over and over again when referring to their parents and their use of technology in their relationships was sad, mad, angry, and lonely. I feel like I'm just boring. My dad will take any text, call, email, anything over me. Now, I say this because I think our parents, I think us as adults need a wake-up call, but I say this to you guys because this is going to be you, and when you are a teenager and your mom is trying to ask you to do something, or your dad is trying to do something, or heaven forbid, you are at a church activity and your leaders have spent hours and hours planning and praying and fasting to put something on for you, and you are doing this. I love you, I don't even know you, but shame on you. Shame on you. You are telling them that they are not interesting, they're boring, and it's not important to you. You may not feel it. I know I don't. There have been times where I've done it to my kids because sometimes what we have going on here is important. I don't doubt that one bit. There have been times that I'm like, I have to get this email out for work, or I have to send this, or I left a kid at school and the school is calling me to go pick it up. Or one time I'm listening to a conference talk. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. It's beautiful. And my son's like, hey mom, look. I'm like, just a second. What am I telling him? That this is more important than him. You've probably experienced with your parents. Guess what? Your parents are amazing, wonderful people. They're not perfect. Neither are you. They love the snot out of you so much. When it feels like they're nagging you, you can't play video games, get off your phone, no, we're not gonna watch a movie, no, we're not gonna turn the TV on. It's because they love you so much, they don't want you to be this. And it's because they may, are you ready? Spiritual ears on. They may sense dangers you don't think are real yet. Right? Right. Elder Bednar said, I raise my apostolic voice, he's an apostle, of warning about the potentially stifling, suffocating, suppressing, and constraining impact of some kinds of cyber interactions and experience upon our souls. The concerns I raise are not new. No, we heard it 20 years ago. They apply equally to other types of media, such as TV shows, programs, movies, and music in a cyber world. These challenges are more pervasive and intense. I plead with you to beware of the sense-dulling and spiritually destructive influence of technologies. Please be careful of becoming so immersed and so engrossed in your pixels, earbuds, Twittering, online social networking, potentially addictive uses of media and the internet that you fail to recognize the importance of your physical body and miss the richness of person-to-person communication. This is an apostle telling you and warning you, asking you to please beware. Is technology bad? No. No. Listen to my voice. No. It is Campbell. My dog is not a bad dog. He's not a bad thing. He's a wonderful dog. But if you are permissive and you let it, it will make a mess of your life. Now, do the scriptures say anything about spending times on screens? Do they? I guess they do. Are you ready? This is why the scriptures are so amazing. Alma 34:33. Are you ready? Behold, if we do not improve our time while in this life, then cometh the night of darkness wherein there can be no labor performed. D&C 42:42. Thou shalt not be idle. For he that is idle shall not eat the bread nor wear the garments of the laborer. D&C 16:30. Wherefore I give unto them a commandment. Thou shalt not idle away your time. Neither shalt thou bury thy talent that it not be known. You can't show the world what amazing talent your Heavenly Father has blessed you with if you are idling your time away in your house on your device. You can't. D&C 50:23. And that which doth not edify is not of God and is of darkness. Listen to this. That which does not edify God is not of him but is of darkness. What are you spending your time watching? Now I, the Lord, am not well pleased with the inhabitants of Zion. Tell me if you don't think this is what you see at school. Are you ready? Now I, the Lord, am not well pleased with the inhabitants of Zion, for there are idlers among them, and their children are growing up in wickedness. They seek not earnestly the riches of eternity, but their eyes are full of greediness. There's more, but we don't have time for this. There's actually a wonderful, wonderful scripture. Goes with this. This is John, by the way. I love this. He gave this in one of his talks. We need to be careful. Some programs on TV are filthy. Some are evil. They are poisoning the minds of God's children today. Likewise, many TV shows, movies, and video games are making their viewers desensitized to the promptings of the Spirit. I truly believe that the truths that we embrace are being mocked on every hand. If you don't believe me, turn on your TV. Law of chastity, mocked. Law of word of wisdom, mocked. Honoring family, home, and relations, mocked. Religion, how many shows or video games do you see where people go to church? That's a big fat zero. Mocked. And if you do, and if you want to have modesty, mocked, we get name called for. And guess what, my wonderful friends? What you watch is really important because it can desensitize you to the promptings of the Spirit. And in Doctrine and Covenants 104, it says, I, the Lord, will not be mocked. Are we mocking him by what we participate in and what we do with our time? Are we idling away our time and participating in things that mock him and his son, Jesus Christ? I know that sounds pretty heavy, but there's a really, really great scripture that goes with this. How many of you guys have read the Book of Mormon? Yes, so great. Awesome. It's a wonderful book. Alma 46. How many of you guys know about the title of liberty? Yes, so good. Do you want to know why Moroni voiced up the title of liberty? It was because of this dude named Amalekiah. Read it. It's crazy. Amalekiah, Helaman and his brethren were like preaching the gospel, and they're like, this is awesome, this is great. And here comes Amalekiah, and Amalekiah's like, I don't want to do this. Amalekiah's a Nephite. He's like, I don't want to do this, I want to be king. And he starts to get these men to follow him and say, yeah, he should be king. And it says in the very next verse, Moroni's ticked. It says he's angry, so he rips the thing and starts making the title liberty. It's pretty cool. He does it because of this Amalekiah. Listen to how bad of a dude Amalekiah is. He's a Nephite, meaning he's had the gospel. He's had the gospel. It says he tries to fight against it, things don't really work out. They have a little war, and him and a couple of his men escape. They escape to the land of Nephi. Now, the land of Nephi was actually inhabited by Lamanites, and he goes around professing to all the Lamanites, hey, we should go to war against the Nephites. Let's go to war against the Nephites. And he does it, I love this, are you ready? He does it by flattery. He makes them feel good. He doesn't do it by bullying. He doesn't do it by ripping down your morals or beliefs. He doesn't do it by making fun of you. He doesn't do it by gossip. He makes you feel good. He boasts you up. Good shot, good kill, good points, great hair, great chest. How many likes do I have, right? He boasts you up. And he goes, and the king of the Lamanites hears, and he says, okay, Amalekiah, go, let's go to war. Now, some of the Lamanites are like, we don't want to go to war. Have you seen Moroni lately? We don't want anything to do with that. So they get upset, and they flee. They run away. He takes a big bunch of them, and they get away. And Amalekiah goes, okay, what are we going to do about this? The king says, I compel you to do whatever you need is necessary to make them come back and fight for us. And he says, great, this is wonderful. And in the scriptures, it says, listen with your spirituals, it says that he had a very subtle plan in his heart to do evil. Sound like anyone you know? So he goes, he takes some of the men that wanted to go to war. They go and they actually come to this hill called Anipus. And they had gone to the top of this hill called Anipus, and they had a leader appointed among them. The leader's name was Lahontai. And Lahontai, it says in the scriptures that he was fixed with a determined resolution not to come down. He's like, I'm not going to war, I'm not coming down. So they make camp down here in this valley, and at night, Amalickiah sends a couple of his men in secret up at night to the top, and he says, Lahontai, come down. We just want to talk. And Lahontai's like, nope. That's what it says in scriptures, verse 27. It says, nope. No, it says, no, I'm not coming down. And he's like, okay, tries a second time. Nope, not coming down. Tries a third time. He's like, I told you, I'm not coming down. Leave me alone. So listen, it says Amalickiah goes all the way up, almost to the top, and says, just come down a little bit. Bring your guards with you. Come down a little bit. We just want to talk. So he comes down a little bit. He says, that's not that bad. I'll bring my guards. They talk, and Amalickiah says, listen, Lahontai, I don't want to go to war either. I don't want this. You come down off your hill with all of your men, surround my men, we'll become one big army. All that I ask is that you make me first in command. I'll be first in command, you be leader. This is gonna be good. And Lahontai thinks, okay. Okay. So he does. He comes down, surrounds them. What happens? Things are good. He's in command, he's in control. He has now the entire Lamanite army. He's basically in control of all of this. And then we read, and I think it's verse 18, it says, Amalickiah sends one of his servants to Lahontai, and he starts administering poison to him by degree. Little by little, by little, by little, until he dies. So what can we learn from this? You're like, Kristi, that's a really cool story. We love the scriptures. They're my favorite book ever. I know, mine too. What can we learn from this? What does this have to do with technology? Okay, well, let's listen. Number one, Amalickiah was a Nephite. He had the gospel. You have the gospel. When he went into the Lamanites, did the Lamanites know who he was? Yes! It says he was going around telling everyone who he was. I'm a Lamanite, I want to go to war with the Lamanite. I'm a Nephite, I want to go to war with the Nephites. Everyone knew who he was. Guess what? Do you know who Satan is? I'm pretty sure. We've told you. There's certain movies, there's certain music, there's certain stuff, pornography, those kind of issues, stuff on screens that you know that is bad. You look at that and say, nope, I don't want to have anything to do with that. He doesn't make himself, he's not very secret about his ways, but he can be. We know that it says Amalickiah was very subtle to do evil. So when he doesn't get his way, he will try a different way. So it says the king of Lamanites takes them, so they go. He comes up 3 times. Lahontai's not coming down. Maybe Satan's trying to get you to do something or trying to change something in your life, and you're like, nope, 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 not coming down, not coming down. And then what does he do? Do you remember? Just come down a little bit. Come down a little bit, bring your guards with you. Just watch that show, it's fine. Bring your guards. What are your guards? You read your scriptures yesterday. You went to church on Sunday. You said family prayer. You've got your guards. You went to young men's and young women's last week. It's fine. Just come down a little. And so we do. We spend more time playing video games. We spend more time watching maybe movies and TV shows that maybe aren't that bad, but we idle away our time doing stuff where we could be doing something better. We come down, and then what happens? Things are fine. Lahontai came down, got the whole army, things are fine. And then we read in the story, it's little by little until he dies. So the thing that scares me the most about this story, guys, are you ready? Is that up until the very moment Lahontai dies, he still thought he was in control. It's not that big of a deal. There's no danger yet. I've got this. The show isn't that bad. It's not as bad as what all my other friends are doing or what they do. Little by little by little, and we think we're in control. So when Jesus was walking by the Sea of Galilee, and he calls out to Simon Peter and his brother Andrew, he said, come, and I will make you fishers of men. And I love this story because I always thought it was amazing that they left everything. Did you guys know that Simon Peter and Andrew were really wealthy? They weren't just fishermen, they owned their own boats. They owned their own fishing company. So not only did they walk away from their wives and their family and their jobs and their money, they walked away from a life that they were comfortable with, that they knew. But you want to hear something really cool? Elder Worthland, I don't know if you know him, he died about 8 or 9 years ago. He was an apostle of the Lord. He put something in a different perspective. It says that when Jesus was walking and said, "Come, follow me, I'll make you fishers of men," in the scriptures we read, "And straightway they left their nets and followed him." Elder Worthland said, "A net is any device used to capture." If we are truly sincere, this is what he says, if we are truly sincere in following after the Savior Jesus Christ, we must straightway leave our nets and do so. And that isn't a bad thing. And that was good. It helped them provide fish for their family. But when Christ calls and asks us to leave it, if we can't, it is just a device that is using to capture us. In Psalms 46, it's in the Bible, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." Did you know that when you actually translate, the correct Hebrew translation for "be still" isn't sit quietly or wait patiently or just hold on? Did you know when you translate it from its original Hebrew, "be still" means let go. Let go and know that he is God. In bearing my testimony that our Heavenly Father loves you very much. He loves you so much that he wants to see you happy. He loves you so much that he doesn't want to see you a statistic. He wants to talk to you, he wants to help you, and he wants to provide a happy life. If there's anything in your life or in your home or in your family that is entangling you, or is a net that is keeping you away from knowing the Savior Jesus Christ, can I ask you guys to do me one favor today? Will you go home and let go? And you guys have more power than you know. Will you go home and have help your parents let go? They may need help too. I have a testimony that this church is true. I know that Jesus Christ is at the center, at the head. He knows you personally. He knows your struggles, your heartaches, your sufferings, but he knows all the wonderful, great things that make you you. You are unique, you're special, you're talented, and he wants that to be shown to the world. He has a purpose and a plan for you. And you can't have that purpose and a plan if you're stuck in a net behind a screen. It can't happen. I testify that you can have and be just like Peter, and just like James and John and Andrew. You can follow the Christ and he can make miracles of your life. But I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.